Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel for another Halloween tutorial. Today I'm doing a relatively easy video. I'm actually doing this sort of Bambi deer inspired look, but it's more like a what happened to Bambi's mum, I guess. I did get inspiration from a look like this that I saw on Pinterest, so go and have a look on Pinterest if you want to get inspired by looks, but I did think it was a little bit cool, a little bit different. Let's just get straight into the video. Starting the look, I've already done my hair, which I put into two mini buns, sort of to be like deer ears, I guess, and I've already done my foundation and concealer under my eyes. Firstly, you need to make sure you really have a really light under eye area and under eye highlight, and obviously then I did my forehead and my nose as usual. I used the Benefit Boi-Ing concealer to really highlight under my eyes because you do want it to be quite a stark contrast difference. I can't remember the color of this, but it's just a few shades lighter than what I would normally use. I'll link it in the description. And then I blended it in with my damp beauty blender as usual. Then I also went ahead and set the concealer with MAC Light Plus, just another really light powder. And then now onto contour. I'm using the LA Girl Cosmetics Pro Conceal in Chestnut for the darkest contour you will ever do in your whole entire life. Like, I'm serious. Applying heat to the product firstly on my forehead and then blending that in with this flat kabuki brush, just sort of bringing it quite far down around my forehead because you do need to frame it quite a lot. And then I also will go onto my cheeks and doing the same blending. As I mentioned, very intense, very dark contour, like really intense. And then also to intensify the contour, I'm using the Tarte powder contour from the Pro Glow palette. I'm pretty sure you can buy this separately from the Pro Glow palette though. And this flat brush, really going ham with the product because you want to make it look very defined and very obvious. Next, using the same powder contour shade and my Coastal Scents brush, I'm doing a really simple but defined eye, which is blended, but it is, I guess, a cut crease in a sense, just a more of a soft cut crease from the outer corner to the inner corner, and then blending with this Sigma tapered blending brush up towards my brow bone. Then I'm doing a winged liner, and I started to wing it out, as you can see, from the lash line, just creating a line almost connecting to where the shadow ends from the crease, using this Maybelline liquid liner, but I didn't find that it did really work, so I sort of brought it in and created that triangle effect back to my lash line and bring it along my lash line, but I just didn't find that the liner was strong enough, so I ended up going and grabbing the Tarteist liquid liner to go over the top, and as you can see, it really intensified the black liner, bringing that across my entire lash line more to the inner corner and just really make it black and a lot more popping, I think. I went and used my mascara, which was the Tarte Lights Camera Lashes Mascara, and then I went on to powder. I am using the Laura Mercier Loose Translucent Powder under my eyes, using my damp beauty blender as usual, and then I went ahead and applied my lashes from xobeauty off camera. They were just this really natural lash, and again I will link the name of them in the description box as usual. And as you can see, highlighting my brow bone using the Tarte Pro Glow palette again, and then I'm just covering up my falsy lashes line with my Tarteist liner. Then I'm just going ahead and quickly removing the powder, which I put on my nose, under eye, and a little bit on my forehead as well. And then I am using this Sigma short shader onto the nose, the all-important nose, and I'm applying the same contour powder from Tarte, starting from the inside under my brows and then going on either side of my nose, really intense, just leaving a little bit of gap under your brows, but really bringing it maybe a quarter of the way across, and then blending it down and around. Obviously, the strongest nose contour you will ever see in your whole entire life, I think, and then blending that in a little bit. And then I wanted to intensify my cheeks a little bit more apparently, so I put more contour shade on there with this big powder brush. Now onto the spots around my head. I'm using the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in Milk. This one is perfect and easy to use because of the size. You don't really need to draw the dots. It's more about placing them and swirling them a little bit around your head. I just put 5 dots basically on either side of my forehead, and then a couple down my temple, and then obviously down my cheek line and also on my cheekbones and on my cheeks. It was sort of just don't overdo it. I just sort of did a couple and then saw how I went. Then for some added depth, I added the pencil to my waterline really intensely, and then I grabbed the black Maybelline pencil liner that I used before and applied that to my lash line. So the milk pencil was in my waterline, and it went about 3/4 of the way across, and then I blended it using my Sigma Short shader as well, just so it wasn't super intense. Now back onto the nose portion of the deer look. I am using the same pencil liner from Maybelline to start drawing it down, obviously in between my, I think it's my Cupid's bow, and then outlining my lips. And then I also filled in my lips with the same black pencil liner, and then once I had fully colored them in, I went and set my lips just so it didn't transfer as much, and I just used a single NYX shadow, and it is in the color Hot Black, and a small brush to apply that over the top. I also went and just applied a bit of Velvet Teddy by MAC on my bottom lip so it didn't look so dry and bland, even though I couldn't put my lips together. It was really odd. And then I'm finishing off the nose part by drawing across, obviously on the actual nose. I just did my lips before, and drawing the line basically a quarter way up my nose and then down all the way on either side before coloring it in with the same pencil that I used before. I didn't want to make it too big, but I also didn't want it to be too small, like a little dot. So this is how I did it. You don't have to do it like that. And then I set it again using the same shadow, which also I think deepens it up a little bit. Now we are done with the cute part of the deer. I'm moving on to the more gruesome part. Using the Nye Liquid Latex, I'm applying that directly to the center of my forehead, but a little bit closer to the hairline. As you can see, I left a little bit of gap, and I'm applying that in a circular rounded motion. Then I grabbed a piece of tissue and I pulled it apart into like its tiny little layers, and I applied it to my forehead over the top of the liquid latex before pulling the bits off, as you can see, just to try and leave the circle where I've applied the liquid latex. I sort of struggled with it and went over it with latex and tissue a few times just to layer it up, and so that I could also deepen the wound a little bit more. So I just played around with it a little bit. Then I went and covered it with foundation, and I also used a bit of the Pro Conceal that I used before just to kind of blend it in a little bit more. Then I just created the bullet wound, and I used these tiny small pointed scissors just because it had a sharp edge, and I went straight into the center trying to pull apart the tissue, I guess, and just to create that round bullet wound, if that makes sense, and just pulling the tissue apart to reveal my actual skin, and obviously be very delicate when you're doing that. Then I added a tiny bit of black shadow that I used before just around the edges, and then I also grabbed a red eyeshadow from NYX as well. It's just one of their like individual pots, and sort of added that, just sort of add to the wounded bruised effect. I wasn't really 100% sure on gun wounds, so this is what I thought worked. And then onto the center of the actual wound, I'm using the Marte black face paint and using this tiny small painted brush and just applying that directly into the center. And then I grabbed the Anastasia Beverly Hills Liquid Lip in Heathers, and I just also applied that directly into the round, sort of going underneath the tissue and underneath the latex, and mixing in the black paint as well just to make it look really deep and dark. And yeah, just trying to make sure that you couldn't see any skin. Then I went in with the Mehron Coagulated Blood, which is a super thick formula and will make it look really super fresh, and I just used a tiny pointed brush that was good at applying and layering that product up and making sure to apply it under the latex as well and the tissue, as messing it up a little bit and then applying it over the top of the latex / tissue just to give a bit more of a splatter effect, as you can see, just making it look as realistic as I thought I could. And now to create the drop, the blood drop, I'm using some fake blood that I got from the $2 shop. You could also use red dye, I think, if you wanted to, but I applied that in the center hoping it would drip down, and I had a lot of issues because I didn't want to make it too bad. I want it to be a straight drip and I didn't want to go anywhere, so I was kind of like kept applying more and more product and then bouncing up and down, which eventually I got there after applying enough product. So there you have it. This is the finished What Happened to Bambi's Mum video. A bit of a twist on your regular cute deer Halloween makeup tutorial, but I hope you guys liked it just for something different, a little bit more gory. Thumbs up if you liked it, and let me know what you'd like to see next in the comments below, and hopefully I will see you all very, very soon. Bye guys.